Sven Harmeling joins us now. He is the Global Policy Lead on climate change at CARE International. That's an organisation dedicated to tackling the climate crisis. And he joins us now live. What did you make of those comments there by John Kerry?
Well, I mean, I think on the one hand, it's good that he raises political attention to some of those issues which will be on the agenda of the UN Climate Summit later this year. But it's of course important to note that in particular the US and some other developed countries really need to step up their game so that they can become real allies of developing countries in facing this global threat.
And, you know, this pre-COP meeting is being held now in Milan. How's it going? Is there any progress, any tangible progress that will be taken to COP26?
Well, I know there are a couple of issues where there's definitely not yet an agreement among parties, among different governments, and normally this pre-COP is supposed to at least, you know, bring parties closer together, bring the ministers closer together. Probably it will not end with a declaration or telling us these issues are resolved, as it's more of a preparatory nature. But one particular issue is that we need to look into how much developed countries, richer countries, are also providing as climate finance support to developing countries. And I'm sure that the ministers at this pre-COP will also listen and hear from poorer countries how important it is to step up in that regard.
But Sven, you know, why is financing such a problem? You know, we can send people into space, there's all the weapons of warfare, but yet climate funding is a stumbling block. Why?
I mean, on the one hand, it's important to see that the developed countries still have an important historical responsibility and under the UN Convention are also obliged to provide support to developing countries. And in many countries, for example, the costs of adapting to the impact of climate change are quite significant, going into the dozens, if not hundreds of trillions of US dollars. And in countries which are poor and which have many other priorities, there just needs to be more financial support, but there's also a lack of political attention to that, and we need much more action on this on the side of developed countries, but also private sector, for example, needs to shift its finance, and we need to move away also in the financing from those sources like fossil fuels, which continue to accelerate global heating.
And I read a piece of what I think is encouraging research that shows that the 1.5 centigrade temperature threshold can be kept at a relatively low cost over the next decade. What is that? How important is that going forward to COP26 with regards to financing?
Yeah, I think it's very important to note that, and there has been various studies, and we know that if we move beyond 1.5 degrees globally, the impacts will hit us much harder. So there's a lot of aspects why there are a lot of benefits in investing into climate action. I think often the economics and thinking in economic ministries, etc., is just not comprehensive enough to see those benefits and to see the absolute necessity to limit climate change. And this can avoid a lot of disaster costs and human suffering. So we also need to, of course, confront this and get politicians and heads of states to change their perspective on this.
All right. Sven Harmeling, thank you very much indeed for your time and analysis. Appreciate it.